Traditions. We all have them. From decorating the Christmas tree each year to eating at Taco Bell on Tuesdays. Traditions give us all a sense of regularity and things to look forward to time and time again. When it comes to video games, however, tradition has taken on a different meaning. The idea of video game tradition is that a game series, franchise, or genre should maintain similar elements between installments. At face value, this idea seems reasonable enough. After all, if you like one game, you'll probably like a game similar to it, right? However, as time progresses, it's becoming more and more evident that this idea of tradition is actually creating more problems than it's solving. As far as I can see, the problem arises from the fact that people have started to use the concept of tradition as a means of judging a game's quality. There are two sides to this, so I'll start with the first argument. The games that are scrutinized for straying too far from it. You know the ones I'm talking about. Luigi's Mansion, Sonic Unleashed, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Wind Waker, Final Fantasy X, Star Fox Adventures, etc. There are more and better examples I could have listed, but these will serve well enough since they are so well known. All these games, while also criticized for different reasons, were bashed upon release mainly for how they changed the core gameplay, setup, or even something as redundant as the art style of their predecessors. Now, as time has gone by though, these games have started to become more appreciated for what they are rather than for what the predecessors were. And that's a good thing, really. It's nice for games that used to be hated come back into the spotlight a little. And yet, these arguments continue to persist to this very day, with games like Game & Wario, Alone in the Dark 2008, DMC Devil May Cry, Paper Mario Sticker Star, Resident Evil 5, Spirit Tracks, the list goes on and on. But we also have the flip side of the coin, because while some games are criticized for straying too far from tradition, others are penalized for keeping too close. The new Super Mario Bros. Series comes to mind when talking about this. This series has had a red target on its back ever since both the 3DS and Wii U installments were revealed within 2 months of each other. They've been degraded for repeating the exact same elements in each game and having hardly any innovation in between. The sad part is that these games are actually pretty good. The platforming is still top-notch Mario, the levels are progressively getting more creative, and the art styles are improving with each game as well. Plus, each game implements some sort of new power-up or gimmick to make them at least somewhat distinguishable from one another. The same can be said for games like Call of Duty, Skylanders, Halo 4, Ace Attorney, and so forth. So what we have here is a classic bullhorn paradox. If you avoid one horn, you get impaled by the other. And one of the worst parts about this is that it hasn't always been a problem. Look at the first 6 Mega Man games on NES. 6 games from the same franchise released only a few years apart from each other that are built on near identical engines. From a purely technical standpoint, all these games are near exact copies of each other, just with different level and boss designs. And yet, both at the time of their release as well as today, all these games are loved by fans and critics alike, and the fact that they are so similar is hardly ever even addressed. For the opposite argument, look at Super Mario Bros. 2. This game implemented many significant changes to the original masterpiece. Alternate characters, more focus on puzzle solving rather than left-to-right platforming, the keys, a life bar, and an entirely different world at its helm. And yet this game too was loved by fans and critics. So as you can see, it's an issue that's only gotten more prevalent as time has gone on, and the margins that game designers have to negotiate are getting slimmer by the day. So, as is the case with most bullhorn paradoxes, the answer lies not in one horn or the other, but in between them. In this case, all it takes is one simple question. Who cares? Who cares if a game is similar or different to another one? Who cares if game designers are experimenting with a franchise or sticking to what they know? If a game is very different to the last one, then fine, it's different. But that's all that should mean. It doesn't have any effect on the quality of the game whatsoever, and the exact same thing applies to games that are very similar. At the end of the day, the argument of tradition versus experimentation shouldn't even matter, because it's a judgment of inspiration rather than a legitimate criticism. The take-home message today is this: take each game for what it is, not what you expect it to be. Don't let ideas of tradition and circumstance get in the way of enjoying what you're playing. Keep this knowledge in mind, and you might just find yourself opening up to some titles you would have turned your back on before. Who knows? You might even find some new favorites.